All right. Hello, if you are listening, and welcome to the LP Fantasy Show. I am Dagan LP, here to work out my own thoughts and processes regarding fantasy football in hopes to better our skills and our processes, um, and make a little bit of money on the way, to hopefully make some better money and to have a little fun at the same time. I'm checking in here. We're doing kind of a late night draft here, little behind the scenes, I guess. Tried to record a podcast for the Puppy 2, which just launched, the Puppy 2, but not SuperFlex. So we've got some Pupception here by Underdog. So we have the Puppy 2, but this one's not SuperFlex, it's just regular. 18 rounds, one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, a flex. We've pulled the 12 spot. So I tried to record a podcast earlier in the week. And so I updated my ADP draft board on the 9th. Today is the 12th, so it's been a few days. So maybe this draft board has changed only slightly. I did draft another team for the Puppy 2. And it went somewhat well, and I might deploy a similar strategy here. We'll probably talk about that draft in another video. Someone commented on one of my videos, so figured I'd kind of let them know. Bryant Johnson, if you're listening, the Puppy 2 has just launched. $5 over on Underdog. As we get closer to home league season, I think this is a fantastic way for you to get some reps. Better than mock drafting, where there's no money involved, and if people don't get the first round pick that they like, they just dip. Most are gone by the fourth round. So Underdog, these puppy drafts are a fantastic way, I think, to, like I said, get some reps. This Puppy 2 draft tournament, not as filled and is not filling as fast, I think, as the Puppy 2, but SuperFlex and the Puppy 1. I think there was just a lot of excitement for the Puppy 1. Diggs goes really early here. I'm not mad at it, though. So, might get a few more in here. I think I've already got only one. I have updated my ADP draft board, and we're going to go over that here today. There's some changes. It's been a month, technically, since I've updated the ADP draft board for the single quarterback leagues. That includes Best Ball Mania 3 and any puppy tournaments that only require you to start one quarterback. And a lot has changed. When I was first doing this, and I was kind of doing it every week or every couple of weeks, I thought, like, there's some changes, but not as much. And I feel like things are really, really starting to change in terms of, players' ADPs and stuff. This is going to be a tough draft for me because I do not typically draft out of the 12 spot. We might do this. I'm sure a lot of people have done this, honestly, like just got Adams and Kelsey flipped back and forth on each other. In the last draft, I did actually take Adams. I'm not really sure what I want to do here. I don't have a ton of Travis Kelsey this year. I also don't have a ton of Devontae Adams. Let's just go Adams, and then we'll go Kelsey for the stacks, for the game stacks. Last time I had a chance at Evans and Adams, and I ended up going Adams and Barkley. I'm not the biggest fan of the later picks. I like the earlier picks, or at least I did, because I could still get Saquon. Now I can't. So anyways, as I was saying, now we got a long time until I pick again. As I was saying, I've updated the ADP draft board. I have not done so yet for any SuperFlex boards, but I definitely will, especially because my home league is a 2-quarterback league, and I kind of want to update that. I know it doesn't translate perfectly, from best ball to home leagues, but it is something that I plan on doing. Let's first now just take a look here at the ADP draft board, the standard ADP draft board for Underdog here. This was a little bit more naked a few days ago. I'll say that. I've kind of gone through and highlighted some players that I like here and there. I try to start with like some of the money plays, and I'll kind of just touch on those here. as to why I've decided that these are money plays. I very similar. Okay, Olave, Wilson have been money plays all off season for me. Robinson has pretty much been a money play all off season. He wasn't on the last update of the ADP draft board, but I'll kind of explain why I think he is a money play now. Um, it's hard to say. It might be a stretch here that Robinson's a money play, but I'll talk about it. And there are some new players that I'm deeming as money plays or just really really strong values. I think, and a lot of that is relative to similar players and their the comparative ADPs there. So let's start here. I haven't really touched anything in the first two rounds. I think ADP is super sharp in the first two rounds. Super sharp in the first two rounds. This back half here, basically everything after Mark Andrews is not my favorite. I will say that. And so having an early pick does get you, one of these elite top five. I think. Obviously it gives you access to, the elite top 7, 8, whatever you want to call it. Oh, Diggs didn't go that early. He's going at the 8th spot, so he went at the 6th spot. So, I think these first two rounds are really, really getting sharper. I'm a big fan of like this 6 versus this 6. And even that's kind of a stretch. I think it's, just take the safe guys for you and, invest in good offenses, which most of these players are, and, you'll be fine. Third round, I think I have identified some values, but not necessarily values, but guys that I like versus guys that I don't. And it's this section right here that I seem to really, really like. I'm really, really in on Pittman. I'm in on the Colts this year. I think they're really fantastic. And while Pittman's ADP was closer to like the 6th round, at the very, very early offseason, you can get him in like the 8th. While his ADP has risen over time, this tournament's just starting out, and I think Pittman's honestly a fine value. He's currently going as the wide receiver 14. I think he has a really good shot at being a wide receiver 1, meaning a top 12 wide receiver. And so, I like his value there. Not a money play, but I like it. James Conner's pretty interesting to me. He's a guy I've kind of been talked on a little bit. Mainly because you're looking at like Chubb and Javonte, who are going to have some competition in their backfield. Fournette, I think, is a fake 3-down workhorse. I think the Bucs are looking for any reason to not give Fournette a 3-down workload. I know they paid him a lot of money. I don't think he's the pass catcher that the Bucs want, and is as good that he demands to be on the field. As a pass catcher. We'll talk about Rachaad White later, but I think Rachaad White's going to give Fournette a little bit of a decrease in workload. Conner, to me, though, out of all the running backs in the 3rd round, which aren't many, admittedly, he has, like, to me, the most for sure workload. And like with Kyler in that offense, I just feel like he's going to still have a lot of opportunity for touchdowns. He wasn't terribly efficient last year. And I don't think he ever really has been terribly efficient in his career, but we don't need him to be terribly efficient. There's no way I'm getting DJ Moore. We don't need him to be terribly efficient. We just need him to be somewhat good in that offense. We're kind of up here on these 2 picks. This is an area I do not love. I guess did Kamara go? I think Kamara's already gone. Yeah, there goes Kamara. Sutton over DJ Moore. Josh Allen is really late here. Kind of interesting. Like if I can get Josh Allen at the end of the 3rd round when he's going here, I'll take the value. Wow. Okay, so we're going to get Josh Allen, and I think I'm going to go Jalen Waddle here. This is not what I normally do, and I am desperately thinking about Allen Robinson here. I just don't have a ton of Waddle. Okay, we're for sure taking Josh Allen. I'll kind of explain why we're taking Josh Allen here. Not just the fact that he's falling a little bit, but also the fact that Dawson Knox is right there. Okay, so there goes Allen. That's me. Do I go Marquise? Do I go Waddle? This is a tough one for me. I like Waddle or Robinson. I don't have a ton of Waddle, and I'm not like in love with Waddle either. Also, a correlation stack here. But why you'd want to correlate those two, I'm not sure. We'd be picking at 37. That's definitely early. I'll take Waddle. Okay. So I don't have a ton of Waddle, and so I'm taking Waddle here. I think, honestly, I would take Robinson. So, once again, we have a big break in between picks. So Connor, I like as a third down workload. Pitts, I'm definitely okay with. I was kind of falling off of him a little bit, but Daniel Jeremiah tweeted something out where he's just like all in on Pitts, and it's hard not to like just jump back in immediately. DJ Moore with the quarterback upgrade, I really like. And then Kamara's ADP has really fallen because of the looming suspension, but there could be a suspension of the suspension until next year. So we'll see how that goes. Let's first talk about my first money play here, and that's Allen Robinson. I've talked a lot about Allen Robinson this offseason, but the main reason I think he's a money play here is let's look at the wide receivers that are similar to him and going before him. Okay, so Allen Robinson, to me, bona fide draft capital. I think he was a top 10 selection. If not, we know at the very least he was a first round selection. I hope I'm not wrong on that. I'm pretty sure he was. I guess we double check just to be safe. Okay, Allen Robinson, Pro Football Reference. Allen Robinson was taken. Second round. Wow, this is shocking to me. I thought Allen Robinson was an early pick. Okay, well, this definitely changes things for me, but let's still talk about it, okay? This is a guy who we've seen be, a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, I think at his absolute peak. He's probably closer to like a top 10. I know Matt Harmon is who does reception perception. If you don't know about that, go check it out. It's worth like the $30 it costs. Anyways, Allen Robinson, I think to me is a very, very talented wide receiver. And he's getting drafted after guys that are, in similar situations with similar quarterbacks. T. Higgins is going in the second round, and he was a second round pick. Same thing with Robinson, both second round picks, both in legit offenses that just so happened to go to the Super Bowl this last year. And I can get Robinson in the fourth where I have to take T. Higgins in the second. Let's talk about Mike Williams. This is a guy who I want to be in on, and I kind of saw it last year. But he did really burn me really hard in the second half of last year, and maybe that's kind of clouding my judgment here. But Mike Williams is, I think there's like Mike Williams is going in the third round just after Keenan Allen, and I guess people are thinking Keenan Allen's going to fall off a cliff here a little bit. So there's a chance that Mike Williams is the wide receiver 1, but I like the Chargers offense. I get it. But I've seen Allen Robinson be legit for multiple years, where Mike Williams I've seen be legit for like multiple weeks. So I'm more likely to believe that Robinson is, good, and that maybe Mike Williams was a bit of a fluke. Even if I like the Rams offense better than I like the Chargers offense. It's close. The only reason I like the Rams offense better is because of Sean McVay. I'm not really that sold on Joe Lombardi yet. I like the pieces that the Chargers have, and you can even make an argument that their offensive line is better. They have better weapons, arguably, too. But Cooper Kupp and Robinson are pretty dang good. And give a pretty decent run for the money on Keenan and Mike Williams. And Eckler versus Akers, yeah, I get that. But to me, Mike Williams is, I think Robinson's for sure better than Mike Williams, and a player I'd rather have than Mike Williams, and he's getting taken a round before, almost 2 rounds before, basically. Waddle, who I just took, he's the wide receiver 2, could be the wide receiver 1 on a Miami Dolphins offense that we're not really sure about. Gabe Davis is the wide receiver 2, on a Bills offense, not high draft capital either, and he's getting taken before Robinson. I just think, the draft capital thing I thought did matter, and I think it still does. But the thing that really sells me on Robinson over these other guys is we've seen Robinson be legit. And I think a lot of people are just getting tainted with their their experience of Allen Robinson last year. So I'm not really scared of what happened last year. This sucks. I hate this. We may go like 2 wide receivers here that are really, really good. We have Josh Allen. I think we're going to go Devontae Smith and possibly Russell Gage. I might go Russell Gage here. Took him at pick 60. I took him 10 picks early. Because I also kind of like DeAndre Hopkins here as my wide receiver 4. Like, that's interesting to me. Yeah. Sure. I don't love this section, and you can tell by my ADP draft board. I don't have a lot of players highlighted here. The only guy I really wanted was Amon-Ra. Would have taken Hurts in this situation if I didn't have Josh Allen, or I would have taken Kyler if I didn't have Josh Allen. Gage is kind of interesting to me. I don't have a ton of Gage. I've been kind of talked on him a little bit, especially because Godwin's, going to be out longer than people I think realize. Those 4 wide receivers there, Smith, Moore, Thielen, and there's someone else there. I like those guys. I like Gage too. Gage, I mean, all these guys are about the same area. I just happen to take Hopkins and Gage above them. I don't. Only reason is Gage is probably in a more pass happy offense. I could have went Thielen. I just decided to go Gage here. I don't have a lot of Gage. I took Thielen in the last draft, or one of my slow drafts. So Robinson, a guy who I'm kind of in on, still at ADP. Looking in the 5th round, I can't identify really any money plays. I'm really in on Bateman. And Lamar. I like buying into the Ravens offense there in this 5th round here. If we get more word on Dobbins, I mean, I'm sure his ADP will rise, but I guess I'm slightly nervous about it. I think what I've said before is even if he starts training camp on PUP, it's not like he's a rookie coming in and he's got to learn the offense and get acclimated. It's J.K. Dobbins. He's been in this offense for a long time. Same thing with Gus Edwards, wherever he is on here. I should probably make him a money play here. I have before, and I think I'm going to continue to do so. Because I think his ADP maybe slightly rising there in the 14th. Yeah, 14th. Let's talk about my next money play, Joe Burrow here. His ADP seems to be continuing to fall. I think it's because you can get Kyler and Hurts here at the end of the 5th, beginning of the 6th, and they still have the rushing upside. To me, though, Burrow could put up numbers just as we saw. Tom Brady was the QB1 last year, or at least the QB3. I don't remember exactly what he was, but I think he was the QB1 because he was on the most pass happy offense, and he was, churning touchdowns out left and right. I think Josh Allen was up there, and I know Herbert was up there too. So those 3 guys are up there. It's going to cost me, though, Josh Allen a pick in the end of the 3rd, if he falls, a pick at the end of the 3rd round, probably the beginning of the 3rd round. Herbert goes at the end of the 4th. I can get Burrow at the end of the 6th. To me, Herbert and Burrow could produce similar numbers. I don't think there's like that much rushing upside with Herbert, at least more than Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's got some athleticism to him. I'm not saying he's going to go start running for touchdowns, but there's just something to me about Burrow, and I've talked about it before. Their offensive line got better. They have all their weapons back. Year 2, year 3 for everybody. A lot of continuity there, a lot of consistency. So that just makes a ton of sense to me. The next money player I have is Kareem Hunt. This is one I've been back and forth on throughout this offseason. I'm back on him being a money play, and I'll kind of explain why. I think Kareem Hunt's ADP is going to rise before the closer we get. Damn, the closer we get to home league season. Okay, so it's the end of the seventh round. The end of the seventh round, and I can still get Joe Burrow. That is insanity. Um, that's let's see here. So, I mean, I could get value here on Joe Burrow. I don't want it though. Like, I don't want Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. There goes Tony Pollard. Like, what is happening? Do I want Olave? That sounds interesting. I could take Burrow. Like, I'm not going to take Burrow. I'm just not. Olave at 98. I think we're going to take. Let's just take Miles Sanders here. We don't have a lot of Miles Sanders for sure. This might be my first share. Kareem Hunt. Don't love it. Did I take him? Oh, do I want Dawson Knox? I feel like I should want Dawson Knox. Where is he? Knox gets taken at the end of the 9th. I'm picking here. Let's see what happens. I might just go naked Josh Allen. Could go James Cook, kind of like that. Okay, let's see what happens. We pick again at 108 and 109. Dawson goes 102. Probably not falling to me. Let's see what happens. Okay, so Kareem Hunt, a guy I just took right now, and the reason I have him as a money play is I think his ADP is going to get higher, closer to home league season. Right now, he's being drafted as the running back. Kareem Hunt, running back 30. And we've seen Kareem Hunt, like, almost guaranteed floor be a top 24 running back. And we've seen him be, wow. What is going on? Did Joe Burrow get injured or something? What is happening? How are people not taking Joe Burrow? Who's got Jamar Chase? If this guy here, this guy's probably sweating he took Jalen Hurts. Oh my God. He should take Joe Burrow for sure here in the 8th round. I'm definitely curious to see what happens. So Kareem Hunt, this is a guy we've seen be drafted in the 5th round, right? Like last year, I think he was going in the 5th, maybe even the 6th. Now he's going 2 rounds later, and nothing's really changed. Like, yeah, Baker's no longer the quarterback, but like Baker wasn't, Kareem Hunt, I feel like, was performing last year when Baker wasn't really doing that well. Take Joe Burrow. Do it. Come on. You have to, man. Come on. It'd be such a money pick. I feel like he's probably choosing between Burrow and Burks or something. Oh my God, he went Trey Lance. Something has to have happened to Joe Burrow. Like, do I not know something? And there's a chance that Kareem Hunt is traded. There's been talks about, Kareem Hunt being traded. If he is traded to a team that obviously, the only team that would trade for him is like a team that would, need a running back. So if a team trades for Kareem Hunt, he's probably the running back 1 on that team. And so now all of a sudden, like, you've got, Kareem Hunt, who is going to be the RB1 on a team rather than the RB2. I don't think he's traded. And even if he's not traded, once again, I think he could really rise up. And he should be probably taken in this range because we've just seen it before. I don't know why we wouldn't see it again. I believe more in like the Browns offense being able to do what it wants to do, at least on the ground, than I do some of the other offenses of the players getting taken around here, like Kenneth Walker and Rashad Penny. Next, let's talk about Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. I talk about these two usually in pairs because they've been going right next to each other for a long time. Olave's ADP hasn't really moved, so I'm keeping him as, a money play. You can tell even from a month ago, there's Olave's name right there, same spot. He's probably going to be the wide receiver 1, and I think he's going to have the Justin Jefferson kind of like immediately splashes onto the field and does something. I think that's who I'm putting my money on there. Wilson, on the other hand, has the higher draft capital, just barely. But coming into the offseason was the consensus wide receiver one, and I think a lot of people are inputting situation, and where the player was drafted into their analysis and their pricing of Garrett Wilson. I kind of learned the hard way that sometimes you should just take the good player, and the situation will, could get better because situations are a lot more fluid than we think. And I think that's even more true, especially with this offseason. I came into the offseason thinking this was going to be the greatest offseason we've ever seen in the history of the NFL, and I don't think it's disappointed. What we've seen is tons of change rapidly, and I think that's only going to continue to get faster and faster in terms of the ADP. Or in terms of situations changing. So yes, we do want we're only buying this player for 1 year, and so in Dynasty that makes a little bit more sense. But I'm still kind of in on this because I believe in the Jets, and I believe that their offense is good and that they've supported Zach Wilson enough to be successful. Let's talk about Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is I was listening to the Audible podcast the other day, and I think it was Cecil Lammy and Matt Waldman doing a live stream, and they were talking about players, specific wide receivers, whether they like them, whether they don't, just kind of going back and forth. Well, Matt Waldman was talking about the Bills, and he was talking about Dawson Knox. Okay, now all of the hype is on Gabe Davis. Okay, now what he talked about with Dawson Knox was the fact that the Chiefs basically made a bet. And I always get sniped on Garrett Wilson. I wasn't thinking about Garrett Wilson there, but I do get sniped on Wilson a lot. I'm just going to let this clock, you know what? I'm doing it right now. Boom. Boom. Dawson Knox, Matt Waldman was talking about, like, certain wide receivers, and are they scheme players? Are they matchup players? How good are these players actually? And obviously Gabe Davis has a ton of hype. He's going to be taking over the Emmanuel Sanders role. I get that. And he performed really, really well. He had this big splash game against the Chiefs in the playoffs where he scored 4 touchdowns, and that kind of shows you the ceiling there. But what Matt Waldman talked about was, in that game, the Chiefs basically bet that they could get to Josh Allen before he reaches his third read, which in this case was Gabe Davis. They lost that bet, obviously, because Gabe Davis ended up scoring 4 touchdowns. But the first read is Diggs, and the second read is Dawson Knox. Now, Dawson Knox, Matt Waldman also mentioned that Dawson Knox coming out of college was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. And so Dawson Knox, who, was successful last year before he got hurt. We saw him be like a legit fantasy tight end. What if Dawson Knox is actually the second option in this offense? I'll talk this through here. Let's say he's the second option in this offense. Dawson Knox is a screaming value here. There's not many tight ends, especially this late, where you can go, oh, they're the second option in probably the best offense in the league. Right, like you talk about Schultz. I've kind of grown on him because I think he's the second option in that Dallas offense. Maybe the run game is the second option there after CeeDee Lamb, and so maybe he's technically the third. So I kind of like him. You can make an argument for Hawkinson, but Dawson Knox, yeah, even Waller is for sure the second option in Las Vegas. Kittle might be the first, maybe the second, maybe the third. Pitts is for sure the first. Not a lot of tight ends in between. Even Goddard going before. I would say Goddard's the third option. That's how confident I am in Devontae Smith. And so Dawson Knox is going way later. And in fact, you just saw in the draft in this draft right now, I got him after ADP, and I think you can consistently get him after ADP. He could be the second option in the Buffalo Bills offense. And I think it's also a perfect way to zig where everybody else is zagging with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis' ADP has risen just slightly. I think it was closer to here, like beginning of the 5th, end of the 4th. And, in home leagues, he'll probably go later than this, but he's going really, really high now. The only issue I have with his ADP rising even slightly is nothing's changed. What we knew about Gabe Davis like a month ago is still the same today. So why is his ADP changing? I think there's a little bit of an echo chamber kind of process happening here where it's like, yeah, he's good, right? And everybody goes, yeah, he's good, right? And everyone's agreeing with each other, and that just slowly raises his ADP. Well, if Dawson Knox is the second option in this offense, Dawson Knox is an absolute smash, and Gabe Davis is maybe not as good of a smash as we want. So I kind of like the thoughts, the process behind that. Let's say Dawson Knox is the third option in this offense. He's still going as, the third option, where Hawkinson could be the third option in the offense behind maybe like Swift and Amon-Ra. He's probably the second option. Schultz could be something like that. Goddard, to me, is for sure the third option, and yet we're still getting Dawson Knox around later. I wasn't in on him at all, and I thought he was kind of a bit of a flash in the pan, but the more I've, as time has gone on, and honestly, that process to me sounds pretty sound. No pun there. And so I'm okay with taking Dawson Knox here at this ADP. Let's talk about a couple of players I've kind of been in on here. I want to talk about James Cook and Ramondre. James Cook and Ramondre are two players I'm really, really close to on money plays. James Cook, to me, is another reason why Gabe Davis might not be as good of a value as we see. They've been looking for this role to be filled in the Buffalo Bills offense. I think they've known for a long time that they've needed a pass catching running back, basically just a weapon out of the backfield to really attack offense or defenses with. And they tried to sign JD McKissick until he backed out at the last second, and then they went and drafted James Cook early, I think second round. I could be wrong, day 2 or day 3. I was wrong about Robinson, so maybe I'm wrong about Cook. But James Cook was the best pass catching weapon in this draft class, and I'm really in on him being a success for the Bills. It's why I'm okay with Josh Allen being the number 1 quarterback. They did lose Dable, but man, the roster just from top to bottom is just so deep, and so allows them to be so multiple that it's hard not to like getting invested in that offense. Ramondre, I was this close to making Ramondre a money play. Biggest reason is I think he's the running back you want, and Damien Harris is going 2 rounds earlier. No way. Someone just took Spiller. Okay, I'm picking at 132. I kind of like this. We do need another running back here. Hines, Henderson, Carter. I think we go Carter. I like KJ Osborne here too. Jarvis is kind of interesting. Dotson, just a guy I've been buying for most of this offseason. It should probably be a running back here. I think I can get Matt Ryan still at 154. Yeah, let's try that. Thank you, Hines. I guess I'm not in love with that, honestly. Michael Carter might have been the option here because of his correlation, I guess, with that AFC East. So I was really close with Ramondre. I think he's going to be, the pass catching running back for the Patriots. I think we saw that a little bit last year, and we saw Ramondre be good last year. And Damien Harris was great, and I was in on Damien Harris last year, and shockingly, his ADP has fallen compared to last year's. I think his ADP was getting closer to the 7th, 6th round, even maybe 5th, and he's still going consistently in the 8th. That's pretty surprising to me. But if I'm going to make a bet, on a maybe Damien Harris gets injured or something. I like both. I like both guys, but Ramondre was pretty close. And that's the only reason I think I didn't put Ramondre higher in terms of a money play, is because I still like Damien. He was so successful last year, ton of touchdowns. But Ramondre's bigger, better pass catcher. To me, there's a chance that like Ramondre like explodes, like is like LeGarrette Blount, used all the time and really, really successful for New England. The next money here, Jahan Dotson, another guy I just took in this draft. Um, you know, I've kind of been in on him, and maybe I'm souring on him a little bit. You know, I'm not sure how much I love this. I love Carson Wentz. So I get it. I do like Scott Turner. I think he's been a good offensive coordinator. Um, to me, I think Dotson stepped in right away and is the wide receiver too. Yeah, Curtis Samuel could come in and do something. And Curtis Samuel has really not reached the potential we all thought he could reach. But Dotson, I think, could come in and really surprise. Plus, he's the only first round wide receiver who's going after round 10. Like Burks, Olave, uh, London, who else? Any other first round wide receivers? I can't even think of any others. Are all going before him. There are second round wide receivers. 3 of them, I believe, that are going before him. Even before Wilson, if you can believe that. Even Jameson Williams, who's not going to be playing for a while, I think, is getting taken around before him. So I've been on Dotson. Spiller's a guy I kind of got talked into, bigger back, kind of seen as a plotter coming out of college, but we've been dying for somebody to be decent in this RB2 spot for the Chargers, and I think this is a pretty cheap relative cost for getting that RB2 on the Chargers. Matt Ryan, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. These are 3 quarterbacks I've been in on at price for a while now, and I'm now in on Matt Ryan being a money play, and let me explain why. I've been kind of tinkering with this for a while, that thinking Matt Ryan should be a money play, and I'm finally just going to make it so. The reason I'm having Matt Ryan be a money play now is he's getting drafted as the QB 20. Now, Carson Wentz last year for the Colts was not fantastic. I get it. But in a quarterback, in a typical quarterback scoring league, Carson Wentz was the QB 14. The QB 14. And now you can make an argument that this Indianapolis Colts offense got just slightly better, and now they're upgrading to Matt Ryan. And so if Carson Wentz, who we believe to be a bottom 10 quarterback in the league, or I think most would believe is a bottom 10 quarterback in the league, if Matt Ryan or if Carson Wentz can be the QB 14, why can't Matt Ryan be successful in this offense? It just makes no sense to me. So I'm very in on Matt Ryan here and taking him there. This could be a pivot here. I might switch Devontae Parker because look at this ADP. He's falling here. And if that's the case, I'm okay with taking Mac Jones, who is getting drafted at pick 171. We can't get him, probably. So I'm hoping this guy just takes Devontae Parker to make my life way easier. I'm also not that in on Devontae Parker. Daniel Jones taken before. Okay, so we're going Matt Ryan. It's going to be round 14. I want Alec Pierce, but I'm not going to get Alec Pierce, am I? We're for sure taking Matt Ryan. Alec Pierce is going end of the 14th round. Dang. I do want Gus Edwards, too. I might just legit go Alec Pierce here for the stacks. It'd be a little early. I'd be taking him over Gus, which I don't love, and so I get it. But man, there's something about this. Do I need Alec Pierce? Is a fantastic question. Or do I need Gus Edwards? If I take Alec Pierce here, we're just smashing running back on the last few picks. I'm going to take Alec Pierce. I could have taken Gus Edwards there. Maybe should have taken Gus Edwards there. Going for Alec Pierce, though, for the stack. So I've got Josh Allen and Matt Ryan, both stacked with a pass-catching running back and a weapon in the offense. I believe their second option in the offense. Oh, Goodness me, man. Sometimes, the closer we get to draft season, the more and more I'm seeing like these drafts are getting crazier and crazier. This is a good team right here. I like this, except for your quarterback, but I'm not mad at this right there. So Matt Ryan, who I just took, to me is almost guaranteed to be a quarterback one, just based off of what Carson Wentz was able to do last year. Gus Edwards, I did just make maybe that's who I should have taken. I should have taken Gus Edwards because I have Gus Edwards as a money play, and I don't have Alec Pierce as a money play. Very close, but yeah, I like that there. So let's talk about these quarterbacks now, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. Now, for different reasons, I have both of these guys who are getting taken now back-to-back next to each other as money plays, and let me explain why. Of the 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round in last year's draft class, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones are being selected as the last 2 of that draft class. Trevor Lawrence is being taken first, 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds ahead of them. Kind of understand that because Trevor Lawrence, at least coming out, was seen as this generational prospect. Although Greg Cosell, the wizard, the professor, has, put some brakes on the generational label there. Not only that, Trey Lance is getting taken in the 7th round, and Justin Fields, who is now getting taken at the 11th, is getting taken even before that. Can you believe that? Trevor Lawrence is getting taken before Justin Fields, or Trevor Lawrence is getting taken after Justin Fields. And I get the rushing upside stuff with Justin Fields, but man, that offense is stinky. And we've seen the Jaguars support Trevor Lawrence just a little bit better than Fields. So here's why I'm in on Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. Let's first start with the guy who's getting taken first, Zach Wilson. Of all of the possible quarterbacks, Zach Wilson, of all the 5, first round quarterbacks from last year, Zach Wilson is probably the worst. If we took Fields, Lawrence, Jones, or Lance and threw them into the Jets offense, we would probably be drafting them in like the 6th round. It would be something absolutely ridiculous. But Zach Wilson is, getting taken in the 15th. Now, the question is, how much worse is Zach Wilson? Now, I do believe in supporting cast. I do believe in, that sometimes, the talent will just kind of work itself out a little bit as long as you have a plan for what you're going to do with that talent. But more importantly, if you support that talent with other talent around it. And to me, of the 5 possible quarterbacks, there is no quarterback that's been more supported over this year and the last than Zach Wilson. The offensive line will not shock me if, when Brandon Thorne releases his rankings, if the offensive line is like top 15, I really was hoping they would take a tackle, so it'd be like top 5. And if they really wanted to maximize the Zach Wilson-ness and, maximize what they could get out of him, please. Are we taking another wide receiver? Depending on who he is, the answer is most likely no. Oh, doctor. Okay. So what do we have? 18 pick. Oh, I'm on the clock. It's round, what is this, 15? 15. So we got 15, 16, 17, 18. So if I went wide receiver, that'd be 7, and we'd have 7. I'm okay with both of these here. Yep. So let's just take him now. Jamal, Julio. Okay. So, man, I'm feeling pretty good about this, honestly. Running backs are but they could be really good. Last 2 picks are going to be running backs, though, for sure. I think Zach Wilson is extremely supported. If Mekhi Becton is healthy, I think Zach Wilson's just like easy value. Like, I think he could really pop. The offensive line is healthy. They supported him with, Elijah Moore last year, and now Garrett Wilson this year. Corey Davis as your wide receiver 3, who I think he is the wide receiver 3, but him as your wide receiver 3 is just really, really dangerous. I don't really believe in Uzoma or Conklin's fantasy value, but I do like what it brings for the Jets NFL offense. And, in addition to, they didn't just, settle with Michael Carter. They went and added on to that with Breece Hall. So their running game is going to be strong. Everything about this offense is really strong. And I think has a chance to blend well together and really, come together well. The only question mark is Zach Wilson. Now, I'm going to bet on, my abilities as a non, film guy, as a non true quarterback analyst. So I'm willing to bet that Zach Wilson is wrong, especially at this price. Especially at this price. There's not a lot of offenses to me in this range that have upside like the Jets does. And then Mac Jones, who's getting taken after Zach Wilson, was the best quarterback last year. And I did think there was some ho-humness to his production last year, but then like if you look at like some of the historic numbers, like how many yards, I think in yards and like touchdown rate and all these things, Mac Jones was extremely successful and like in the top 6, top 5 of a lot of these stats. Not a ton, but I saw a couple. I just can't remember what they are. Regardless, he was the best quarterback last year. And the Patriots didn't really get worse. They lost Josh McDaniels, which I definitely think is concerning. But to me, I think they're just all in on Mac Jones and what the offense used to be. And yeah, McDaniels was fantastic and is fantastic. And that's why I'm kind of in on the Raiders. But, to me, what really made the Patriots work for all those years was Bill Belichick's mind and his defensive mind compared with Brady's offensive mind and McDaniel's offensive mind, and them going back and forth with each other and basically iron sharpening iron. I think they're all in on Mac Jones and believe that Mac Jones is that quality of a mind offensively and can be. And I think that's kind of why we saw Mac Jones was successful last year. It wasn't like his, overwhelming athleticism or his arm strength or, his ability to break tackles or anything like that. It was how cerebral he was and how accurate he was. Very similar to Burrow, but probably with less mobility. And so Mac Jones there, I think, is just worth a money play simply because, once again, of the 5 quarterbacks in last year's draft class, these guys are getting taken as the last 2. And I think, you can get some real advantages there with both Wilson and Jones. Let's talk about a couple more guys. I just took this guy, Julio, at the beginning of the 16th round. He's going at the end of the 16th. This is a guy, Julio Jones, who, when he's healthy, I get that he hasn't been healthy all the time, but when he's healthy, is still good, I think, and better than a lot of the wide receivers in this range. I've been treating Julio Jones like Antonio Brown from a couple years ago. Nobody was really touching Antonio Brown. And if they didn't, a lot of guys were taking him in the last round. And if you did take him in the last round, it was absolute smash, because once Antonio Brown came back and played, he was bona fide still good. To me, this is Julio frickin' Jones. And even if he doesn't play a lot of games, the price tag of, his injury cost is already baked in. Right. So like there's only upside here. And if he gets drafted or if he gets signed, once he gets signed, his ADP is going to shoot way up. Like, let's say it is the Packers. There's a chance, Julio's getting taken in the 6th or 7th round, because we've been dying for Rodgers to have a guy and for him to, have a chance at both of them. Like, come on, that's just too easy to pass up. Or too easy not to pass up. I just made my last 2 selections here. I'll kind of talk about those here in a second. Love this team, honestly, by the way. I think it's fantastic. A 2-7-7-2 team is so money to me. Not just going elite tight end or quarterback, but getting real nasty with it and, getting some flex appeal here with Dawson Knox too. Wide receiver is okay. Running back is okay. So, maybe I could have gotten some better value here. I'd feel better about, Robinson and maybe Devontae Smith rather than Hopkins or rather than Gage. But, maybe I'm wrong on Gage. And I also got some correlation here. So Julio just to me is too easy of a pick to make. His ADP is going to shoot up way up no matter where he signs, honestly. He's probably at worst going to be in the 10th round by the time the season actually starts. The last money play I'll talk about here is Deontay Foreman, and the reason I've now decided that he's a money play is because he should probably be going in like this range here, at worst like round 14, with guys like Darrell Williams or Khalil Herbert is legit. Marlon Mack, Mark Ingram. We're all about CMC, right? Like, everyone's in on CMC. I am, he's the pass catching back, but everything about this Panthers offense is that they want to run and establish it hard. And, I think they do want to use CMC, but if they truly establish it as hard as I think they're going to, as hard as Matt Rule wants to, this is a team that could really use two running backs and use them successfully. Now, I'm not saying Deontay Foreman's going to, really blow past this ADP if CMC is healthy, but, Deontay Foreman, I don't think Chuba Hubbard is the second guy. I think Deontay Foreman is the second guy. So I think he has more standalone value than people realize simply because of the Panthers scheme and what they're going to be doing. And, trading for Baker Mayfield doesn't change any of that, right? They still want to be run heavy, just like Baker was in Cleveland, and they want to maximize play action with Baker. And so if something happens to CMC, obviously Deontay Foreman just becomes an immediate smash. But even if CMC is healthy, I think we could see some success from Deontay Foreman there, and so I've got him as a money play there. I did just take Deontay Foreman, and I took Chris Evans. Chris Evans is, the backup to Joe Mixon, another guy, I really, really like. He was a guy I kind of was looking at a couple months ago. You can see I've got him right here when he wasn't getting drafted. A guy that to me was like, oh, this guy could, number one, provide some standalone value. They didn't really fully commit to Joe Mixon last year. They had, Samaje Perine in there on one of the last plays of the Super Bowl. But I thought Chris Evans in a second year, he could really pop. And then the Underdog Fantasy Show has kind of hyped him up a little bit. Not too much. He's still going in the 17th round. So that's about it for now. I'm going to try to release some more videos here. I've kind of talked through everything I've wanted to talk about in terms of some of my processes. To review that last draft, I thought it was fine. This is my first share, I think, of Josh Allen. I got him about 7 picks later. Obviously went like zero running back style here. And I don't hate the options that I ended up with. The wide receivers I ended up with, I thought were okay. I do like the upside of like DeAndre Hopkins as my 4th wide receiver. I've really got to wait out that 6 weeks. And yeah, I took him a little early, and I could say that for a few of these guys, but I'm okay with it. Obviously feel super great about tight end, and I feel honestly, because of how good I feel about Dawson Knox here, I feel like he could provide some flex value there. Maybe I shouldn't have gone Kelsey. I think something I've talked about before is like hinge point drafting, and drafting based off kind of reverse engineering your draft. And if I believe Dawson Knox is such a money play, he should be my tight end 1, I think. And I should be backing him up with like another mid-round tight end instead of spending all the capital on like Travis Kelce way up here. Carr was a guy I thought about here, but it just so happened that things kind of worked out with getting Josh Allen, and I wanted to at least get some stacking going with Josh Allen. I've got 3rd and 4th options, 2nd through 4th options in the offense. A running back and a receiving weapon, and the same thing for Matt Ryan here, a running back in Nyheim Hines, who could get more work. I'm not really sold on it. He was a guy I drafted last year and still wasn't that sold on, or and didn't really perform that well. But that's because Carson Wentz doesn't throw to running backs, and Matt Ryan is more likely to. So Nyheim could pay off a little bit here, but not a ton. So if you've listened up until this point, man, you are a trooper. I appreciate you. Please leave a comment, subscribe, like it, do whatever you have to get the people out there to know about the LP Fantasy Show. Again, I guess I don't do this for the views and the likes and stuff, but I guess it'd be nice. I don't know. tune in next time for the LP Fantasy Show, and I'll talk to you soon.